Have you ever met someone from a completely different world, yet they somehow made your culture feel more loved than your own? When I told my family I was marrying a Korean man named Minjun, the reactions were mixed. Some relatives whispered, "Will he even understand our traditions?" Others asked, "What will he do during an Indian wedding? It's so different." Even I was nervous. Minjun had grown up in Seoul in a wealthy business family. I was born and raised in Chennai, where festivals meant crowded kitchens, loud cousins, and grandparents telling the same stories every year. One evening, I apologized to him. Our wedding might be overwhelming. He smiled. Then teach me. From that day on, he became the most determined student I'd ever seen. Every night after work, he'd sit beside my grandmother with a small notebook. She'd teach him simple Tamil phrases while he carefully repeated every word. Sometimes he pronounced them so badly that the whole family burst into laughter. Instead of getting embarrassed, he'd laugh too and say, "Again." He learned how to greet my grandparents with folded hands. He practiced touching their feet for blessings. He even asked my mom how to eat with his hands because he wanted to enjoy our wedding feast the traditional way. A week before the wedding, I caught him secretly watching videos on how to tie a veshti. After nearly 20 failed attempts, he finally managed it. He looked at me proudly and asked, "Does this pass the grandmother inspection?" I laughed so hard I almost cried. On our wedding day, the mandap was filled with flowers, music, and hundreds of guests. As I walked down the aisle, in my red silk sari, everyone turned to look at Minjun. He wasn't wearing an expensive tuxedo. He stood there in a cream-colored silk, veshti, and shirt, smiling nervously. When my grandmother approached him with tears in her eyes, he folded his hands and said, in careful Tamil, "Thank you for trusting me with your granddaughter." The hall became completely silent. Then my grandmother hugged him. "I didn't lose a granddaughter today," she whispered. "I gained a grandson." Even the photographers were wiping away tears. That night, someone asked Minjun why he'd spent months learning traditions that weren't his. He looked at me, then at my family. "When you marry someone," he said softly, "you don't just marry the person. You marry every memory, every tradition, and every person who helped make them who they are." In that moment, I realized love isn't about changing someone's culture. It's about caring enough to learn it. If someone truly loved you, do you think they'd learn your traditions too? Tell me in the comments.